Yes, it's a complicated affair. I mean, for a long time,
I know, it was great. Yeah, thank you. Did you expect it? Yeah, play a game. It's more about the actions I take away from it as well. I think it was very conscious of the time. I'm not going to ask 100 questions, which I kind of want to ask.
The acronym is start thinking, how many acronyms are we going through here? Yeah. It was good that the three of you were facing us and I had to think, actually, they want to drink.
You couldn't have probably one of our blank faces.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I formally bring the meeting to order, can I just advise you that we are streaming this annual general meeting. I think we're probably the first governing body of sport in this country to actually be streaming it. So the whole issue of transparency and going live will be on the net, and so people can be watching it wherever they happen to be. I'm just waiting for some confirmation of numbers, but we'll be starting as soon as I have that.
do you want to explain to people?
Maybe I should just explain. If anyone feels that there is a fixed camera position, and it's got a fairly wide angle. But if anybody feels that they don't want to be...
It's going to need it.
Hang on, But if anybody feels that they don't want to be part of the shot, then you are advised to sit in the rear two rows.
Which one's the largest shot?
Sorry.
Done wasn't here, would have been a double one over.
12 persons with proxies. 2 people in person.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I get to do that once a year, or at least I have had the pleasure of doing that once a year, and this will be my last. And you are welcome to our annual general meeting of Volleyball England here at Sportpark, Loughborough University. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the annual general meeting, where the past 12 months has been very demanding and where we have carried out a huge amount of work, particularly in increasing participation, at a very difficult time when all funding for British volleyball was virtually ceased and where Sport England actually decreased the amount of money coming from Volleyball England. But I'm sure you will have all had the opportunity of reading the annual report and seeing the length and breadth of the work that we've been undertaking over that 12-month period. I don't intend to say too much more other than to say I'm delighted that you are here in person, and I will move on to the appointment of tellers. We need 2 tellers appointed. I'm looking at Douglas Barr-Hamilton, one of our most eminent former treasurers of the English Volleyball Association, and Paul Bohannon is chairman of the Competitions Commission. Would you 2 agree to become tellers for us, please? Thank you very much indeed. Do we have any apologies for absence?
We do, and we'll provide a list within the minutes, Richard.
Okay, the minutes will include all details of those unable to be with us in person. Under the confirmation of eligibility to vote, the list that I have now just been given means that there are 53 votes available, which includes 2 people who are here in person with their vote, 12 people here who are carrying proxies, but there are 53 votes that will count because we have, I think, a list of people who have proxies or who have sent through proxies. Let me make it clear, ladies and gentlemen, we had a number of people who sent through applications for proxies that did not meet the criteria as laid down in our articles. We made it clear that proxies were only acceptable up until 5 o'clock last night. If you have come with a proxy and you have not registered that before 5 o'clock yesterday, you will not be entitled to vote. At the same time, because of the introduction of electronic emailing and Word documents and so on through the internet, all new technologies, the board has agreed with me this morning that we will accept those, even though it's supposed to be signed by the chairman of the club in person. We have accepted electronic signatures, we have accepted an email, but that will not reoccur. So as from this annual general meeting, the criteria for the allowance of proxies to count in voting at an annual general meeting is going to be increased in terms of making sure that people follow the right procedures. But we are allowing it on this occasion, but this will be the last time. So if you want to use a proxy, this will be sent to your club, and the details of how it will operate, it will be put up on the web page, and it will also be included in 3Touch and the electronic email. What we're determined to ensure is that people don't just turn up with a letter and say, I represent so-and-so. That's not democratic. We want it to be a representative of clubs, and that's why this procedure will be tightened up as from this year. But that will be relayed out to you in future.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
You may ask a question.
Can I ask therefore, if that is going to be the requirement, that we are given more notice in order for people to get that necessary paperwork through to them?
Well, you will be given adequate notice within the restrictions and within the details of the Articles of Association, as you were given this year, because it was posted on the website. So that detail will be circulated to everybody when the new annual general meeting date is fixed, and we will do that sooner rather than later.
But my point, Jeremy, that the names of all the candidates weren't provided to us until at least Monday of this week.
Your point is taken. Thank you. Okay, so we move on to the minutes of the annual general meeting held on the 30th of June 2012. And I ask you to accept these as a true record of that meeting. Just let me clarify also the voting process. I will go for a vote of hands, and if there's a vote of hands, You can, in fact, hold your cards up if you have them. Tell us, I want you to approve. If I don't get anyone opposing, then I will take that as a matter of course that you approve. So, can I seek your approval for the minutes of the meeting of the annual general meeting held on the 30th of June? Is that agreed? Agreed? Anyone wishes to oppose? They are accepted. Thank you. Can I put to you the minutes of the extraordinary general meeting held on the 10th of November 2012? Are those agreed? Anyone wishing to oppose? Thank you. In that case, both sets of minutes are accepted. Next item, 1306, is to receive the annual report. Annual report is here. You've all had copies of them. I'm sure you've been reading them into the early hours, possibly without the use of a torch under the bedclothes, but I'm sure you all had an opportunity of reading them. I'm quite happy to try and see if there are any specific questions you wish to raise on the content of the annual report. Any comment? None? In that case, may I move that the annual report be accepted? Though anyone wishing to oppose them, they be accepted. Thank you. The annual report is accepted. To receive the financial report, John?
Well, again, it's included in the annual report towards the back, for anybody who hasn't spotted it before. I don't think I particularly need to or want to add to what I've included in my report, except to say that the loss that we experienced this year was budgeted for the year. Admittedly, a slightly lower number, but still in the same ballpark. We can't continue to operate at a loss, but neither do we want to make excessive profits, because we are, after all, a not-for-profit organisation. But any money that we do make needs to be reinvested in the sport. And the board has consistently done that over the last years, and I think will continue to do so. But if you have any specific questions that anybody wishes to ask me, I will endeavour to answer them, just as Richard endeavoured to answer them on the main report.
Thank you. I can ask you three by email, which I'm happy to receive the answers by email. But on just what you've said, I fully understand that at some stages there needs to be a look at affiliation fees. Will that be... It was a disaster last year because it wasn't really circulated to the fields having that. Could you give a guarantee that any plans to change the affiliation fee for the association will be done after consultation with the field?
Any changes in membership fees will be circulated for...
I'm talking about fees, specifically fees.
The affiliation fees are set within guidelines by the Articles of Association, as we are allowed to increase them at a board discretion up to the level of inflation. If we were to propose to increase the fees by more than that amount, then that would need to be brought to the AGM, and there is no proposal to do that at the moment. And there will and according to our articles, that will be the process that we need to follow.
We've had two meetings which have defeated the proposal to put fees up, but to change the method of working fees. If is that going to come aboard again? If it is, can I say it would be a far more constructive way if it were sent out for grassroots clubs to have a look at and give you some feedback?
Yes, and that's why I referred to membership fees, because that was the proposal that was put forward at the AGM as part of a wider membership proposal. And certainly there will be adequate consultation prior to any further membership proposals that the board will want to put.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other questions on the accounts?
Am I the only person here who finds the lack of detail in these accounts a problem? I can't, from the information that's provided, I really can't form a picture of what we're spending money on, who we're spending money on, what expenses are being incurred, anything of that kind. And those are the things that interest me.
So you have a specific, you just want to make that general point?
I do think that we need a full set of accounts, or certainly a great deal more detail.
You have a full set of accounts as approved and recommended by the auditors because the accounts have been audited.
I understand
You've
that.
asked the question, the accounts are as published here, as recommended by the auditors. If you want more detail, I take your point, we will look at that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? In which case can I suggest and put to you that the financial report is agreed. Anyone wishing to oppose that? Thank you. To reconfirm the appointment of auditors and to confirm the ability for the board to fix their remuneration. Mr. Treasurer? John?
Yes, I would. The panel Kerr Foster have now been now merged with BDO. So the proposal would be that although the auditors will remain unchanged, we need to appoint BDO rather than panel Kerr Foster. But I would support, or I would recommend to the meeting that we appoint BDO for a further year. It will be my intention, as it was a couple of years ago, to carry out a review of who should audit our accounts for the following year, which is 14-15, during this year. But I've been pleased with the service that BDO have provided up to now, and certainly I would recommend them to the meeting for.
Can you just clarify for the meeting, John, that we do change auditors from time to time so as not to be seen to be sticking with one auditor over a long period of time. So that is reviewed on a regular basis. I think John has just referred to that fact, but it would be quite wrong to stick with the same set of auditors over an elongated period of time, lest there might be accusations of improper practice. So the recommendation is BDO.
Yep.
Is that agreed? Anyone oppose? Thank you very much indeed. Right, ladies and gentlemen, item 1309, there are two changes to the articles. Article 11.1 has been changed from and to, as you will read in that in the proposal. And Article 11.4 is any co-opted director shall be appointed by the Executive Board, etc. To, I think you can read those. Shall we take those one at a time? 11.1 first. Does anybody have anything that they wish to comment on that particular issue?
If you could give a sorry.
I'll call you. No, one. Brian.
Could you give a very brief resume of why we are, I know it's happened in the past, but why the number of directors is being increased?
Can I just answer for clarity? At the EGM, this article was approved. We just didn't amend the additional bullet points in the other article 11.1 and 11.4. So the actual principle was approved. It's tidying up the articles to be consistent. So you've already actually approved the 12.
Okay.
We're not
Thank you.
increasing.
Well, you've asked the question. The answer's been given. So.
No, I don't think it has. The question was, could you give a brief resume of why we needed to increase the number of directors?
Well, you're going back over old ground. We've already approved it, so there's no point in entering into the discussion on something that you've already approved. 11.4. Any clarification sought? In that case, as Lisa's indicated, what we are doing is tidying up the existing articles, which you already have a copy of because you were able to pick those up as a copy from when you came in. Those articles have been approved. Those in favour, or shall I put it another way? Those who are opposed or wish to speak against, please do. So I'm going to read. Maybe we should take a vote on this because I sense that there's going to be one or two people wishing to register a vote against. So can we see voting cards and proposals that are in favour that we change the articles? And you can show it as show of hands to start with. We don't need to see your cards to start with. Show of hands first.
Hang on, how can that be right?
Because the articles make it clear that that is the case.
If only 53 people can vote, because there are only that many votes, then when you call for a vote, show of hands can't be relevant.
Well, it can, because the articles make it clear. If you read them, do you have a copy with you? Well, you should have picked one up as you came in, Alan. Makes it quite clear that the first vote is by a show of hands. If there is a challenge to that, then I can call for a poll, which is that you use your proxies or cards. But you really must learn the articles before you start making objections. So, I will call for a poll, since it would appear that there are one or two people who wish to register that fact. So those in favour of the proposal, please show.
You need to count all the cards.
Please count every single card.
Charles got a bus full.
21.
Three there?
So that's three, Mr. George. There you go first.
Do you have a concurrence? Maybe you should consult each other. Do you have an agreed number? 46. 46-4. Those opposing the proposal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is carried. So the two article changes will be put into the articles. Thank you. Okay, we move on then to item 1310, election of officers. There is no second candidate. The only candidate that has been nominated and meets with the agreement of the articles is Mr. John Batten. I therefore recommend to you that he be appointed. Anyone wishing to oppose that? Congratulations, John. That the technical director who's been nominated and meets the criteria as technical director is Steve Matthews. Steve, stand up, please. You stand up. So Steve Matthews, duly elected. Thank you. That the Coaches Commission President, Richard Harrison, has been proposed and meets the criteria. Richard, please stand up. He be reappointed. Agreed. Thank you. Congratulations, Richard. And the Performance Commission President, Mr. Andrew Pink, who's also been nominated but is unfortunately unable to be with us today, is appointed as President of the Performance Commission. Is that agreed? Thank you. So, congratulations to Andrew. For those of you who may remember, Andrew was Vice Captain of the Great Britain men's team during the London Olympic Games. It means that we have two vacancies, ladies and gentlemen. As Schools and Youth President, Mr. Will Roberts has stood down, and we have a potential vacancy as Playing Director. In those circumstances, the board will make temporary recommendations and bring back to you for your approval at next year's AGM, as we have done with Steve and Andrew at this AGM, which means that there is one vacancy. This is my last because I have now fulfilled 2 terms of 4 years as President of Volleyball England, so I will be standing down, or at least not seeking further re-election because my 2 terms of office have come to an end. And we have 2 candidates seeking the position of President. One is John Balance. Welcome, John. And the other one is Wayne Coyle. We've invited both John and Wayne to make a statement of 5 minutes maximum, after which, if they haven't concluded by 5 minutes, then the shepherd's crook comes out and they get dragged off stage. So I'm going to toss a coin, and I will allow one of you, whichever one you wish. I think I've got a coin. I have got a coin.
Cheapskate. Hang on.
I will toss a coin. So, being a good man from the northwest, or from Cumbria, Brian's given me a 2p piece when he deliberately hid a £1 coin from me. So, John, would you like to call your choice as to whether you go first or second?
I'm going to go second, heads.
It's tails.
It's tails.
Your choice.
John, what did you say you wanted to go?
Second, he said.
No, I'll need to go second.
So, I'm going to time you with the assistance of the Chief Executive.
Right, thanks very much everybody for the opportunity to speak to you and also to try and outline sort of my vision from a sport perspective and really the future what I see from a Volleyball England. The vision's quite simple, linked to the mission statement. Want to see the sport grow, to be sustained and also to develop excellence in all disciplines across our sport. Sounds very simple, I know, very straightforward. What is interesting is that really for everybody that I speak to, I think everybody in this room, most people watching the streaming, which I'm sure is in its hundreds, if not thousands, many people playing volleyball within tournaments at the moment today and at Whitfield, etc., and probably even our funding partners, is that they probably want the same. We probably all want that one. I think we want growth, sustainability, excellence. The real challenge is not developing the vision, it's actually how we're going to deliver it and how we're going to do that. I'm not sure that there's anybody in volleyball that doesn't want more people playing regularly, that doesn't want more clubs, that doesn't want more facilities available locally and affordable, and that doesn't want more volunteers, coaches, referees and administrators. I'm not sure there's anybody in volleyball that actually doesn't want international teams, sitting, beach, indoor, cadet, junior and yes, senior level. Teams not only competing, but actually building on what we've done over the last 7 years and actually getting to the point of actually winning and achieving at the highest level. Not only our teams, but also referees, coaches, players, etc., etc. And I'm not sure that there's anybody in volleyball that doesn't want excellence in how we actually deliver and ethically run the sport and govern the sport, and how we make it available to all, financially available, and also sustainable. Vision straightforward. I think the issue is that we articulate it in many different ways. We've probably tried many different ways of achieving that, but the beauty of our sport, that the people within this room, I think, and that's involved with it, actually want people to play it, enjoy it, experience and achieve it. And that's one of the things I think we need to work together to achieve. It's been a real challenge, I think, to achieve that, and we've tried many different ways and actually need to move on with the vision. Excuse me. One of the key things we need to do, we have many initiatives, programmes, interventions. It's important that we actually put these into place. We need to be innovative, we need to be inspirational. I think we know all that. But more importantly, we actually need to create a synergy. Synergy where the total sum is greater than that of the individual parts. Create that real sense of purpose, understanding and respect for the role that we all play within it, and also supporting each other and pushing forward on that. Creating that momentum, the pace on what we do. To achieve it, we don't all need to be board members, we don't all need to be national team players, but we actually all need to be moving in the same direction and getting out of the sport what we feel is important to us as individuals. Somebody recently said, I don't know who and I don't know when, do you want a change in volleyball? Well, my answer to that is yes. I actually want to be constantly changing, evolving, progressing, but we need to do that in a systematic and considered way, in a way that we actually all believe in. Last year, we all experienced the Olympics and Paralympics, and for a very short period in time, I think that vision we all experienced, we all saw it, we all felt it. We achieved a delivery level that actually the rest of the volleyball world aspired to. They were blown away by what we did and how we did it. Our teams, yes, we'd like them to do better, but we actually got to a level that we've never been to before, and we need to actually really build on that. Is there something special that drove that synergy, that Olympic, that Paralympic sort of dust, magic dust, that sort of sparkle? I actually think we've got that. If there was, we've actually got it, and we've got it through passion, desire, commitment within a sport, and us all wanting the same. It's a matter of us actually just delivering that. I've been fortunate to work in the sport, all right, and work with people building that synergy, and we need to look forward, not back, on how we gain on those experiences. We need to deliver across the sport, all disciplines, all levels, from grassroots participation to elite performance, to grow our sport, to engage at all level, and to achieve our excellence in all level. If I'm the right person, or if I'm the right person that's going to take the sport forward, actually most of the people in the room actually know me on there. It's your call, it's your judgment. I want to be part of that, playing the role and being alongside you in actually doing so. Now that's actually 5 minutes of your life you're actually never going to get back, and my apologies for that in having to listen to me in terms of that. But I genuinely want to be part of working with you, working collectively, professional staff, board, people within the clubs, on meeting some of those challenges and take the sport. My apologies in using some of the cue cards, but it's important. It's important to get some of this across, and I think it's important that we all work and move forward and getting the sport in there.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
And John? And your 5 minutes, sir, will start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, the reason I'm standing for election is that I wish to change the relationship in volleyball. I've been coming to these meetings for the last 23 years, and for me the central issue that exists is the relationship between the executive and the membership. It's you. I too went to the Olympics last year, and it was fantastic. That was the best experience of my life. I had something really inspired me, amazed me in actual fact. I thought we saw volleyball as it should be, and I would like to reach out to achieve that. I had to take a look at the, because the other thing that they were talking about this week, because this is the centenary of the Olympics, was looking at the participation figures. And I took a look at these. And our nearest sport in terms of participation is rowing. Rowing achieved 8 medals at the Olympics. I remember back when Wayne was the England manager, we started from a very similar position. And for me, unfortunately, there seems to be a problem in volleyball all through those years. Didn't make any difference who's in what position. The relationship for me is the central problem of the problem. I had a meeting with Catherine Granger, and I asked her, why did they succeed in rowing and where we hadn't? She said, it was having a vision. Basis of the vision, you need a vision. Well, my vision is the life that I lead. I currently operate in 6 schools across Oxfordshire. I've been in 10. I operate in 2 universities. My club, Charwell Volleyball Club, links up with Riga Volleyball Club. They operate in another university. They operate in another bunch of schools. Above Super 8, I coach England Central Boys. This is my vision of how the club structure should work. And it's that club structure that then can connect together to actually make volleyball happen in this country today. I had one of my boys who I was talking to, he said he was watching the World League, and he said, where's the England team? I said, we haven't got an England team. He said, how can you be a serious sport if you don't have an England team? And I didn't have an answer for him. This week, a lot of people have been emailing me. I appreciate I've stirred up quite a lot of emotion, shall we say. I think it's good. But I had a volunteer wrote to me. She said she's been a volunteer of English volleyball for the last 11 years. This year's been the worst of her life. Worst she's experienced. She wants something different. She's been dumped after 11 years as a volunteer. Every time I've ever come to one of these meetings, they will say, how do we value our volunteers? Why aren't our volunteers staying in the sport? I think we need to take a serious look at ourselves, and I said it's this relationship we need to look at. I spoke to another gentleman who used to work for Volleyball England. I used to play volleyball with him. And he said, when we used to talk about the EVA and what the EVA does this and the EVA does that, and he said he went to work for him, he said it was worse. The relationship is not good. I wish to change that relationship. I mean, my first question about this, why is this meeting taking place on Whitfield weekend? Large numbers of our people are at Whitfield. They're not going to be coming down here. They should be participating. This is a political process. If we want to make this sport better, we have to open up to everybody. They want to buy into the vision that both of us are talking about. But by doing this, all we do is close it down. We cut it down to a small number here. You know, look at the number of people who are here. I'm not interested in office bashing. I think Lisa's done a fantastic job. Really do. I admire what you've done. But if we change the relationship, we can start to put that situation together. It's not a situation where one side says one thing and the other one says the other. We have to work together. We have to make this a sport that everybody's proud of. And right now, for me, from what I hear from everybody out there, that's not the situation. So I'm after a change in this relationship, where we bond together, where it's a joint vision, where we move it together. That's my candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now, clearly, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to both candidates. We will go straight to a poll on this. I don't know what the two candidates want to do, whether you wish to stay and observe the polls, or whether you wish to... Are you happy to stay in?
I'm happy to stay.
Are you happy to stay, John?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be a question of I will ask you to vote for one or the other. You can only vote once. And obviously the majority vote will be the winner. So I will ask you, first of all, please, by the use of your cards or by your vote, to show how many votes for John Balance. Thank you. How many votes for Wayne Coyle? How many have you got? There could be an abstention, of course. Right, vote again, please. Hold your cards up, thank you.
So this for whom?
This is for Wayne.
For Wayne.
Thank you. Any abstentions? None that we can see. Okay. So, the voting is John, 5 votes, Wayne Coyle, 47. I duly announce that Wayne Coyle is the new president of Volleyball England. Congratulations. My concluding remarks before I hand over to Wayne to close the meeting, ladies and gentlemen, are that I'm delighted that both John and Wayne referred to London 2012, where Volleyball England played its full part, where they had the biggest crowds ever for beach volleyball and the biggest crowds for an Olympic Games and the biggest crowds ever for sitting volleyball. I was also particularly pleased, I bring to your attention that Volleyball England, as a result of that, won the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Volunteering Award, and only 60 organisations across England received that last year. And Ilona, where is she? Ilona received it on our behalf, so well done, Ilona, because you put that. From my perspective, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that have known me since I was a young man, and Brian kindly referred as I was coming in to the fact that I am proudly wearing my Sandwell Volleyball polo shirt, which we've given a rebirth to. Is I started in grassroots and came through the regions, and this is my second period as president of Volleyball England. I hadn't anticipated getting back involved again until a knock on the door one night from two very dear friends that Pete Bragg will know very well, persuading me to put my name forward. It's been an honour and a privilege to be president of Volleyball England. I think we have made significant progress from the days when we used to be in an office above an insurance company in West Bridgford, and we had one member of staff. And funnily enough, that one member of staff sent me an email only 3 months ago. He now is a grandfather living in Prince Edward Island, Canada. Some of you will remember Barry McGregor. Yeah. So it's been a great privilege to be president, particularly over the period of the Olympic Paralympic Games, and to have overseen and to work with so many of you as volunteers during the games themselves, and to see that your involvement. I've enjoyed a very happy, harmonious relationship with Lisa. That's not to say that we haven't had disagreements. Of course you do. All presidents have got to challenge from time to time, and I think it would be fair to say I've done that. And Lisa is more than capable of holding her own in those full and frank debates. But hopefully that has resulted in better policy and better direction. The challenge is on for the future. I think that the grant reduction that Sport England gave us for this next 4-year period, and the fact that we've recovered $500,000 of that, is down to the reviews and reassessments and the modernisation progress that we've gone through. Have no mistake, if we don't modernise, if we don't get our governance improved, if we don't take on and benefit from the expertise of our non-executive directors, Brian Treadwell, Jim Mutton and Tracy Watkinson, who bring a set of skills that we didn't have on our board. If we don't benefit from those, then this association will not continue its remarkable progress. I wish you all, I wish my successor Wayne Coyle all the success in the world. I'm sure the board will give him the same loyalty and support that they've given to me, and I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, as representatives of your clubs, that you will give Wayne and the board your support too. Thank you very much indeed.
I think I should have taken more notice of the articles as well, because I wasn't aware that I had to close the meeting down. So thanks very much. What I would like to do is thank everybody for the time and effort they really put into the AGMs. For whatever reason, then people see them as a bit of a state affair. They can often not have participation within, and I personally think it's extremely healthy in terms of having elections, people coming forward. John, thanks very much for that. I think in reality, I think people saw a lot of similarities in the things that we'd said, and I think we share that. And as I said at the beginning, I think we share that a lot. I'm really keen that we learn from the past and not look back to the past in terms of there, and really move things forward. I don't need to persuade people in this room about what the values and what the sport has, because the reality we have that. I would also like to obviously play credit to Richard in everything he's done. I've been fortunate to work with him very closely, particularly over this last 5 or 6 years. I'm not going to even attempt to try and put the amount of time, the effort and that he's managed to put into there, and I think he's worked tirelessly for the sport. What I can guarantee, though, is I look to work with you, I look to work with the board, with the members, in seeing what we can do. We must have a visual sport. The sport has to become visual again. I think that was one of the key things from the Olympics. It was visual, so people could see the benefits we've got. I'm not sure we're visual at the moment, and we need to look at many ways of doing that, not for the benefit of the elite players, not for the benefit of the few, but actually for the benefit of everybody within the sport, because that's when it will grow, when we create a visuality. If it doesn't benefit all, we shouldn't do it. The fact that we actually do it through certain routes to get there is another matter. I'm not sure if there's anything else on the agenda, and I'm not sure of the formalities of closing the meeting.
Sorry, can we have a vote of thanks to Richard, please? Someone need to second it, or...
Can I second that?
Yeah.
Can I speak?
You can speak.
Richard and I have not seen eye to eye very much in recent years, but we both go back to really the start of volleyball, of the AVA as it then was. I think Richard has been an outstanding figurehead for volleyball. I think he's fought volleyball's case outside of the house as much as he has inside the house. He has a bearing which I'm sure goes very well in representing Volleyball England in other spheres. As I said to him before, though, when I write his epitaph, what will be the main thing that Richard has done for volleyball? And I'm sure many people in this room would agree, Richard started the old Sandwell tournament, and that for many years epitomised what volleyball was about. So thank you for all that, Richard. I'm sure you're not going to go completely away, and hope you're not, but thank you for what you've done. I'm sorry we've fallen out over things, but nevertheless my respect is still there.
Any other comments that anybody would like to make at this point? I suggest we formally declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much. Bang it. What do I do with it?
Just bang it.
There?
Yeah. There you go.
Closed.